thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Boris here with ILTV's Morning Briefing. The full interview with lame duck President Barack Obama was released last night on Israel's Channel 2 Uvda News with Ilana Dayan. In it, Obama doubled down on his assertions that the U.S. had nothing to do with the drafting of UN Security Council Resolution 2334. Obama asserted that the Iranian nuclear deal was a success and that Prime Minister Netanyahu had a friendship with the White House for 8 years that he didn't take advantage of. The outgoing president said that, quote, allegations against his administration may work well with deflecting attention from the problems of settlements and that they may play well with Bibi's political base as well as the Republican base in the U.S., but that they don't match up with the facts, end quote. Netanyahu responded in an interview with leaders of the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC, saying that, quote, in no uncertain terms, Israel has unequivocal evidence that the Security Council resolution passed at the UN against Israel was led by the U.S. administration, with no question whatsoever, end quote. Netanyahu also said that the Iranian JCPOA nuclear agreement is seen by many in the Israeli government and around the world as a complete failure, as Iran has continued progressing its ballistic missile testing, has continued supporting terror organizations worldwide, has yet to allow the IAEA probe of high-profile Iranian sites, and has continued pursuing nuclear weapons. UK Foreign Affairs Secretary Boris Johnson admitted yesterday that the United Kingdom was closely involved in drafting the UN Security Council resolution condemning Israeli settlement policy in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Speaking in the UK Parliament, Johnson said, quote, let me repeat my point. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry was completely right to draw attention to the illegal settlements and to the substance of Resolution 2334. I remind the House that the UK was closely involved in its drafting, although of course it was originally an Egyptian-generated resolution, end quote. Egypt withdrew its support of the resolution shortly after proposing it. Haaretz reported 2 weeks ago that Britain was a leading player in drafting the resolution on settlements in secret, without informing Israel. In one of the diplomat's final acts in office, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry will be attending the Paris Peace Summit set for January 15th, at which the subject of discussion will be the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Recently, Kerry has spoken on the subject and even gave a 70-minute speech 2 weeks ago, defending the decision not to veto UN Security Council Resolution 2334. The resolution calls all areas captured from Jordan by Israel in the defensive 1967 Six-Day War illegal. Such areas include the Old City of Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria. Essentially, the resolution denies Jewish claims to historical and religious sites that have been important to and inhabited by Jews for thousands of years. Prime Minister Netanyahu has warned attendees of next week's Paris summit not to make any decisions that would be imposed by third parties, saying, as he has said for years, that a sustainable peace agreement can only be made between the affected parties, Israel and the Palestinian Authority. Neither Israel nor the PA will be in attendance at the conference. Talks were reportedly held between the IDF and the family of Sergeant Elor Azaria, in which they discussed decreasing the level of tensions ahead of sentencing. Israel's Channel 2 News said that the talks between the army and the family of Azaria, who was convicted of manslaughter after killing a wounded terrorist last year, were held in order to decrease tension and create trust between the two sides, as well as to examine the possibility of decreasing Azaria's sentence. It was suggested in the meeting that Azaria should give up on appealing his sentence, which would permit the army to reconsider the soldier's verdict, lessen his punishment, and even pardon him in the future. Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman stated on his Facebook page yesterday, in regard to the many appeals to my office about Elor Azaria, I will say it again in order to make myself clear. Whoever wants what is best for Elor Azaria needs to sit now quietly and stop the noise. According to the FBI, telephone bomb threats to 16 Jewish community centers in 9 U.S. states on Monday may have originated from the same number and had been placed by at least one individual and an automated calling system. The Federal Bureau of Investigations has joined the investigation into the calls, which led to the evacuations at some of the community centers. Police searched the centers and found no bombs, and there were no attacks or injuries. The FBI has not named any suspects or given any motive for the bomb threats. Some of the phone calls were made using an automated robocall system, while others were placed live by at least one individual. The phone calls were made to Jewish community centers in Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Maryland, New Jersey, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Tennessee. FBI officials declined to comment on the progress of their investigation. That's all for now. I'm Aaron Boris, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.